In this video, I want to just make it clear with stats and facts that Martinelli has been put in an environment and in a system that does not suit his playing style. And instead of the club to try to tweak the system to include him, the club chose to put him on the fringes. And now the club has decided to part ways with Martinelli. I'm going to give you the stats and the facts to let you understand the kind of player we're dealing with and why Arsenal as a football club should do better. Martinelli joined Arsenal at the time where we were in the trenches and teams didn't respect us the way they do now. There were no low blocks. The games were fairly open and it was end to end. There were a lot of transitions, a lot of running in behind. And these game states actually favored the kind of player Martinelli is. And when you check the stats, you see that Martinelli really shined. Martinelli's first season was the 2019-2020 season, where he played. He played 14 games and he had 6 starts and he had 3 goals. The next season, he had 14 appearances, 7 starts, he had 2 goals and 1 assist. Mind you, this was a very young Martinelli. He was a teenager and he was, learning his trade, growing, coming in to help the team at certain points. By the 2021-2022 season, Martinelli had grown in stature and he was trusted. And this shows in the stats. He had like 29 appearances and he had 12 GA, 6 goals, 6 assists. So this showed you that this was a player who could score goals and who could also make chances. The peak of his time at Arsenal would be 2022-2023, where he had about 34 appearances and he had 20 GA, which is about like 15 goals and 5 assists. By this time, people were already speaking about how dangerous Martinelli is and how he could even play as a centre forward because he was adept at running in behind the lines and he could finish in a varied amount of ways. He had this finisher's instinct inside of him. Where he scored goals, you could tell that these goals were just by instinct. He just had it. 15 goals and 5 assists is not a joke. You don't pull those kind of numbers if you are not actually talented. So what happened? By the end of this season, teams started seeing Arsenal for what we have become. We grew into a team that people feared. And more often than not, we faced low blocks. And this is where the problem started for Martinelli. Martinelli loves transitions. He loves running in behind the defensive line. This becomes scarce when you are facing low blocks. It was time for him to reinvent himself or he will lose his place in the squad. However, I feel like it takes 2 to tango. The system was not tweaked in any way to accommodate him because even if you are facing low blocks, there are ways of creating transitions within the game. But we don't really see Arsenal trying to do that. Instead, the play is kind of slow and times when we're supposed to have fast, quick transitions, counter-attacks, we see the midfielders taking their time, passing the ball around side to side, and before they are done, the defensive shape of the opponent is already set and they're ready. That does not suit the way Martinelli plays. Martinelli loves quick balls, first-time touches, first-time passes that sets him up to run against the opponent. It does not matter how many defenders are on him. Give him that ball and you most likely see a goal. People talk about Martinelli scoring just 1 goal last season in the Premier League and try to talk down on his talent. But the reason for that is just what I just mentioned. That 1 goal, if you remember, was against Man City. Look at the game state of that goal. It was a transition. Look at his finish. Look at his ball IQ. This player is really, really talented. Really, really gifted. He can hurt teams. He can hurt teams when you put him in the right situation. And so I just wanted to make it clear that Martinelli does not lack talent. This is a player that Klopp looked at and waxed lyrical about how talented he was or he is and how far he can go in football. Another option that could have been played out with Martinelli was to move him to the center forward, because he's very similar to Gyökeres in this role and he has more technical security. But it was never tried in that role. He was always put at the left wing. Another thing that could have been done was to have him move to the right, where the demands are not as much as an inside forward. When you put a right-footed winger on the right, then the primary demand for that winger is to beat his man and cross, thereby creating chances. We could have had a situation where we have Saka and Martinelli switch wings mid-games, and in so doing switch roles to where one time we're playing with inside forwards and the next we're playing with wingers, where the concentration is how to create chances with crosses, where we could have the box being crowded by our centre forward and attacking midfielders. This was a tactical option that could have been explored, but it wasn't. The few times that Martinelli played on the right was because personnel were not available. But if you look at those games, you see that he actually played well. He has never had a bad game on the right. This Martinelli that everyone is laughing at, saying he scored only 1 goal in the Premier League last season. He scored 6 goals in the Champions League and he had 2 assists. That is 8 GA. Nobody else in the squad beats that. That is 1.03 GA per 90 minutes. And it's higher than the 0.77 GA of Vinicius Jr. Martinelli simply was unplayable in the Champions League. And why is that? Again, it goes back to the game state. In the Champions League, with teams that are proud, arrogant, and ready to play football, there were less low blocks. There were more open games with transitions and running in behind. And we saw Martinelli shine. In the Champions League, he had 701 minutes, but he still managed 8 GA. That is a goal or assist in every 88 minutes. These numbers are elite. These numbers are elite, and it shows you that the problem is not the player, the problem is the environment, the problem is the system. Now that we are facing low blocks, what has been done tactically to include Martinelli, to play to his strengths, to have him in the game, doing what he knows how to do best. If I'm being sincere, not enough has been done. Arsenal does not have a Martinelli problem. Arsenal has a Martinelli usage problem. Now, the coach can choose to tweak the tactics to include Martinelli, and the coach can choose to simply sell him and get a player that fits the system. The club are within their rights to do so. However, when you treat Martinelli in this manner, I'm sorry, I have to speak up for him. He has to know that we the fans love him, and we the fans actually believe and are aware of his talents. I think there are better ways to show the player the door, especially a player like Martinelli that has played all his life, all his adult life at Arsenal, has given his best. You can complain about Martinelli, but one thing you would always agree is that he gives his 100. His defensive output, his defensive contribution when he plays, it's second to none. His heart, his love for the club is second to none, actually. And so it's natural for him to be reluctant to leave, but I feel like he can be made to understand the reality without necessarily, treating him the way he's being treated, leaving him out of the match squad against Man City in Community Shield and now against Coventry. It's very hard for me to say this, but seeing the way Martinelli has been treated makes me kind of swallow my words. I've always been very critical of players like Van Persie, players like Fabregas, that left the club at what you would call the peak of their careers. And I always felt like it was cowardly the way they left. It was very disrespectful the way they left. But looking at how Martinelli is being treated, you can begin to understand why players may be so selfish. Do you understand? Like, why they could choose to be so selfish and think about themselves first, because when the table's turned, the club tends to be quite cold. I also remember a clip of Adebayo speaking of how he was treated when the club deemed him surplus to requirements. It's sad because Arsenal, we talk a lot about culture, and we've treated players very nicely in the past. We treated players like Tomiyasu very nicely, players like Mohamed El Neni very nicely. And I want to believe that we have that culture of seeing the humans in the players, understanding that they have emotions and they have feelings. And I just want that consistency with a player like Martinelli. Martinelli is an output machine, when put in the right environment, in the right system. If Arsenal is not ready to give him that environment, I think there can be a very open discussion and, pushing him to an environment that can help him thrive. Really, sending him to Turkey does not really sit well with me. If I were his advisor also, I wouldn't allow him go to Turkey because he's just about to get into his prime. He needs to play in a club that has that environment that will help him shine. That said, lastly, I will talk about the culture again, because players like Saliba, players like Gabriel, they are watching all this. These are players that have rejected Real Madrid to stay at Arsenal, and they are watching, and they will begin to question what their loyalty is worth, because anybody who has sense will understand that what happened to Martinelli can one day happen to them. It's not a crime. The club is within their rights to want to move on from a player, but when the player has given so much to the club, like Martinelli has done, you should treat them with respect. For example, his goal against Man City last season, that one goal that people want to laugh at, that one goal was very important. If you are going to put a price on that goal, how much is that goal worth? That goal put us in contention. That goal helped our mentality. We didn't lose to Man City that day because of that goal, and we had this feeling like we are at par. On another day, we could have won that match. Look at that goal again. Look at the IQ involved with that goal. Look at the game state of that goal. That goal summarizes who Martinelli is. He was a sub in that match. He came on with heart, passion. He gave his all, got us a goal that ended us a draw with Man City. If we had dropped those points, would we still have won the league? Would it still have looked the way it looked when Rice could say it's not done? If we had lost that match, how would it have affected us in the course of the season? These are very big questions that no one can actually answer. And so the fact that he had that goal, he should be respected. It should be shown that he's valued. This is just a case of a misfit, a mismatch between his playing style and the kind of play that Arsenal has to put forward now because of low blocks. And I totally understand that, but please treat Martinelli better. People coming out to say that he does not even understand what's going on, he's not even being put in the loop, he's just watching, he's just observing. It's sad. It's sad. I'm a very big supporter of Arteta. If you go to my ex, check all the things I said about Arteta, even when we had bad results, when people tried to talk down on Arteta, I've always known that he's an excellent coach, very good with his tactics, and I also admire his ability to communicate effectively to the team, to the club, and I just want some of that with Martinelli.